Tankxiety. It happens to a lot of new tanks of a certain level. It makes the best of us feel like glorified DPS with worse parses, but we don't talk about those. It can make a hero feel like a zero. But we have good news. With these two crazy tricks, you too can be the biggest, baddest, healthiest tank out there. Introducing reading your tooltips and not being a... Okay, there's more than that, but you would be surprised how far those two things can get you. Do you suffer from dying to avoidable mechanics, tunnel vision, hit me harder daddy syndrome, or any number of other excuses as to why your tank performance just doesn't have you feeling like the virile, violent hunk of meat shield that you want to be? Look no further, because this video is for you. You might be asking yourself, hey, high-pitched voice, obnoxious internet dude that plays strictly female characters in Final Fantasy XIV purely because they have the better animations and not because you belong in horny jail for eternity. What gives you the right to tell me about my tanking? And to that I say, experience, my friend. Tanking in MMOs is the reason I'm alive, and I've mained a tank in all of these games, with these two games taking up the most of my life. I've been where you are at one time or another, and I'm here to help. I've been tanking for a very, very long time across many games, and the thing is, many of the problems that Final Fantasy XIV tanks face have been problems in every other MMO since the beginning of MMOs. I've been around the block a time or two with tanking in MMOs, and I'm here to share the secrets of the craft with you. Welcome to the Merkmore Guide to Tanking in Final Fantasy XIV. Oh, and other games if you have more than 2 brain cells. Part 1, the early dungeons, or MGTFO for short. Now, the start of our tanking journey in Final Fantasy XIV is a special place. Welcome to Sastasha, the first 4-player dungeon available to players upon reaching level 15, or whenever you get through enough of the MSQ to unlock it, you little side-questing overachiever. We see you. A place that will either hook you into tanking or scare you away forever. A place that is so damn easy that a tank really isn't even needed, but that's beside the point. Sastasha is the first challenge set before you, and the term challenge is used very, very lightly. The next section will cover tanking from level 15 to 49 and will give you the crash course on getting good. There are things you must know before walking into Sastasha, or any other dungeon for that matter, and I'm here to walk you through them, starting with the tank stances: Grid for Dark Knight, Defiance for Warrior, Iron Will for Paladin, and Royal Guard for Gunbreaker have different names purely for pizzazz, but they all do the same thing. When you have tank stance on and you hit an enemy, that enemy is going to stick to you like a fly on as long as you keep attacking it and don't single target an AoE situation, or stop attacking to text your mom that you don't want to eat her awful cooking anymore, and to just get you some tendies from whatever regional fast food chain you live next door to and steal their Wi-Fi to play this game. That's called enmity, or threat, or aggro. All words mean the exact same thing, and it means that all enemies are looking at you. Without tank stance, you're nothing but a flaccid DPS, and no one wants a flaccid DPS. So use the stance, get hard, and get in there, you little meat shield. So you have your stance on, and your weapon drawn. What next? Before just charging in and swinging your big old weapon around though, make sure to ask the green icon, yes, that's actually a person, if you can go and make friends with everyone right away, or if you should take it a little slow. This is called mob control, and it can help you a lot in group gameplay. Mobs are the MMO lingo for anything you fight that isn't a boss. Other words used are trash and ads. They all mean the same thing. Controlling the amount of mobs you have smacking you in the face makes the healers happy, since they aren't struggling to keep you and everyone else alive all at the same time. Sometimes the healers are just as inexperienced as you. Sometimes they have very little confidence too. It happens, and if their job is to keep you alive, you need to accommodate and manage how many friends you try to make at any given time. You may control the flow of the fights, however the healers control if you die or not, and it's not always a choice that they get to make. Now, smacking one target with your thick with 2 C's weapon is cool. Swinging that big old thing around and giving an entire room the smackdown is way more fun. Knowing that you need to do one or the other based on the situation is critical. In a single target situation, your single target rotation is going to be the best damage. That should be obvious, but I've seen how you run these dungeons, and oh boy, some of you need that help. In an AoE situation, or area of effect for you sprouts out there, your AoE or multi-target rotation is important for keeping your threat high and your damage higher. Read your tooltips. Know what does single target damage and what does AoE damage, and you too can survive and have the big boy damage we all crave. So you've got your rotation down, you've got your tank stance on, you're controlling your mob packs. What next? Cooldowns, or CDs, are fun toys you get to use to modify your gameplay. They're called cooldowns because after you use them, they take a while to cool down. That's pretty clever, huh? Cooldowns can do a lot of things, but some are more important than others. Some will save your life, and some will have the rest of your party questioning your sanity if you use them at the wrong time. The best part? Most of them have different names, but can be used in the same situations. Pretty neat. The ones you should be using, and I know that you aren't already, no matter what excuse you try to use, are the ones that every tank job has. You can find them in the Role Actions tab of your ability window. Arm's Length and Rampart, for instance, are crazy effective when dealing with large groups of trash mobs. Reprisal is great for mitigating damage from one mob or boss, and Interject is a funny little button that completely stops certain attacks from ever leaving the boss's mind. When you see that cast bar flashing at you like the police lights that one night you had a little too much to drink, hit Interject and your healers will thank you. Unlike that bouncer at the dive bar that kicked you out for trying to explain take dynamics to the pretty girl sitting alone at the bar. Each job has a bunch more cooldowns that mitigate damage, heal you, shield your whole party, protect other players, and more, so be sure to read into them and use them when you think best, or when you die a lot and the healers yell at you. Cooldowns are not just for bosses either. In fact, bosses usually need fewer cooldowns than large or sometimes even small trash packs, so let the cooldowns roll. I get it. Having a bunch of things smacking you in the face rapidly is really fun and takes a lot of focus. However, that does not excuse you standing in the giant circle or cone of doom on the ground. Managing mechanics is one of, if not the most important part of tanking, right up there with keeping threat on all the trash mobs. There are a lot of things to watch out for, too many to list here. Just know if there's a mark above your head, a giant circle around a player, or the floor is yellow, you should be doing something. The most important ones for tanks are tank busters. In newer content, tank busters have a nice effect that looks kind of like this. In older content, they don't have a marker at all. Do your best to learn what tank busters happen on different fights, and be prepared to mitigate or heal yourself accordingly. Mitigation cooldowns are best here because they just stop the damage. Healing is reactionary, shields are proactive. Now, the last piece of the tanking puzzle is your party. That whole window of other health bars on your screen? No, not the enemy list, the other one. That one, that's the important one. Be mindful of where mobs are facing. Keep track of where other players are standing. Do your best to balance other people not paying attention and you aiming enemy attacks at them because you're not paying attention. You can't fix stupid, but that goes both ways. So don't be stupid, stupid. Ask your party what to do if you're new. Ask them lots of questions if you need to. Most people in Final Fantasy XIV don't bite much, except for the cat girls in Limsa. They actually charge extra for that. Now, as you level up, new challenges are added and things you think you know change. Be prepared, but remember to have fun with it. Tanking can be the most rewarding role if done right. It can also be the role that gets you yelled at the most. That's a lie. That role is healer. But hopefully, with this first part and future chapters to come, even you can tank in Final Fantasy XIV. And other games if you have 2 brain cells.